Good morning, boys and girls. Today we are continuing our conversation about transitional words. The first kind of words that we're going to be talking about today are the ones that you probably are most familiar with. These are time order transitional words. So let's look at our little cheat sheet so we can learn about them. Transitional words connect the ideas in sentences and paragraphs. Some transitional words tell you the order of events. These include first, second, next, now, then, earlier, later, soon, and before. Transitional words such as therefore, finally, at last, to sum up, and in the end are used to show conclusions. So let's look at them in practice. First, we applied a base coat, then we painted the bedroom light blue. These are the words that you guys are very familiar with using. Since first grade, we've been telling you to construct your writing first, next, then last. Those are all time order transitional words. So let's look at the activity on this page so I can do 2 examples for you, and then you can do the rest on your own. So let's look at number 1. We are going to underline the transitional word or words in each sentence. So first, cattle grazed out on the open range. Now they graze in fenced pastures. So my first transitional word is the word first, and my second transitional word is now. They both tell you when something has happened. On long cattle drives, vaqueros cooked their food over campfires. Therefore, they ate simple meals. There is no transitional word for the first sentence, but my second sentence has the word therefore. That is our transitional word for that sentence. For 5 through 8, we're going to fill in the blank with our own transitional word. So let's look at number 5. We now have electric lights, blank, people use gas lights. Well, we want to indicate that this happened at an earlier time. So we're going to use the word before. Sorry, guys, just bear with me. You know, it's very difficult to write on here. Hey, this is probably the best one I've done so far. And let's look at number 6. First, the class saw the buffalo exhibit at a museum, blank, they visited the planetarium. Well, we're talking about time order here, right? They did something first, then they followed up with another activity. So you could choose between next or then. I'm going to do next. Okay, great job. Okay, so let's take a look at our second page that we're going to be dealing with today, which is 273, and it is entitled Transitional Phrases. So the first page you're doing was 272, now you're moving on to 273. So we've been talking about transitional words, and sometimes they give you examples of phrases, but basically what this worksheet is focusing on is the fact that a group of words make up an entire transitional phrase, not just one word. So let's look at what our cheat sheet says. Transitional phrases connect sentences and paragraphs. They help you follow the flow of an author's ideas. Some common transitional phrases are as a result, on the other hand, for example, in the first place, in contrast, in addition. She likes horses. On the other hand, she has never ridden one. So while we're looking at this group of examples that they give us, it's important for you to understand what kind of relationship they're showing between whatever portions of a sentence they're connecting. So we would have a positive relationship if we're using as a result. So I could have a sentence example like, I studied hard for the spelling test. As a result, I got 100. That would give a positive indication between the first part and the second part. Now, when I'm saying positive, I don't mean that me getting 100 was the positive result. I mean that as a result indicates that because of something I did in a previous sentence or a previous phrase, resulted in me getting the conclusion that I came to. On the other hand, shows an opposite relationship. So I could say vanilla is my favorite flavor. On the other hand, I also sometimes enjoy chocolate. So these are two kind of opposite ideas when we're using this phrase. For example, is very simple. We use that constantly. Um, I have visited many different cities. For example, I used to live in New York. So that kind of backs up your original sentence. In the first place, that we would use to perhaps maybe introduce something that we're talking about. In contrast, shows a negative relationship. You probably would be talking about opposites when you're using in contrast. And in addition is pretty much the same idea as for example. You're just adding more information. So for 1 through 3, you're underlining the transitional phrase. And for 4 through 6, you're going to write a transitional phrase to connect the sentences. I'm going to do one from each because there's only 6 on this page. Okay, number 1, Rita planted 2 saplings 5 years ago. As a result, she now has 2 lovely young trees in her garden. Well, my transitional phrase comes in my second sentence, so I'm just going to underline as a result because that is my transitional phrase. This section is very, very simple. Usually, your transitional phrase is found at the beginning of your second sentence, and it is separated from the rest of your sentence by a comma. So make sure you're looking for those kind of tips and tricks. You're looking for a group of words that is offset from the rest of your sentence by a comma. Number 4 through 6, write a transitional phrase on the line to connect the sentences. The cowboys in movies are often outlaws. Blank, cowboys in real life worked hard at their jobs. So we want to show kind of a negative relationship here. And like I previously mentioned, we would use something like in contrast because we're trying to show that how they're depicted in movies is not actually how they are in real life. So for this one, we're going to put in contrast. Oh boy. So once again, if you see how my sentence is written, my transitional phrase is set off from the rest of my sentence by a comma. Every single example here has it set off by a comma. So make sure you're paying attention to that. If you guys have any questions, please do not hesitate to ask in the Google Classroom. I'm there to help you, as well as Miss Cook, Mr. Dubay, and Mr. B. Thanks, guys.